Short form videos and YouTube automations like this have been generating millions of views, generating thousands of dollars per month. And how cool would it be if I could do it too? So I've decided to create my own team of AI agents to help me do so. Check this out. I start off by using a simple form to share the animated short video that I want to create. So I'm going to give it a story title such as Desert Quest, an overview of the story, which could be revolving around a cactus this time, right? Embarking on a race against time to find a hidden oasis before sundown. And I'm going to describe the main character, which is Theo, a prickly but lovable cactus. The tone and style would be lighthearted and comedic, and the additional details is that it's set in a vibrant desert with quirky sidekicks like a chatty tumbleweed or a sleepy wizard. And let's just send this in and let's run our workflow and see what happens. So you can see over here, I have my full team of AI agents created on n8n running the full production workflow for me. My voice AI agent is generating the voiceover that's given from the story AI agent, and then later on the image AI agent will generate the images and then pass it to the video generation agent, which will pass to the render video agent, which will then render the video for us. Alright, so now that it's completed the content production system, let's take a look at our Airtable. We have generated a new video for us, so let's check out the video and see what we get.
Alone in the heat, Theo the cactus begins his quest for the elusive oasis. A chatty tumbleweed joins Theo, offering advice, whether he wants it or not. Guided by a sleepy lizard, Theo worries they'll nap more than navigate. Climbing a towering dune, Theo's pride falters as the sun dips.
So that's pretty cool. This is actually about Theo the cactus, similar to the form that we have submitted. So once that is done, we're going to move on to the second part of our system, which is our video publishing system. And this is where we want to publish the video to our YouTube channel. So all we got to do is to click test workflow, right? Make sure to set your video status to ready to upload. And once we set the status to ready to upload, it will actually upload the video for us and actually update this to completed. And once this is done, we can check out our YouTube channel and we should be getting a new video. So let's refresh this studio. Let's go into content, right? And we go into our short video. And we actually do have a new video over here, which is the video that we have created earlier on. Let's take a look. Let's click into the shots and let's see what we get.
Alone in the heat, Theo the cactus begins his quest for the elusive oasis. A chatty tumbleweed joins Theo, offering advice, whether he wants it or not. Guided by a sleepy lizard, Theo worries they'll nap.
And so this is pretty cool, and it's how we actually managed to get a team of AI agents to generate a video for us and ultimately post it and publish it to YouTube for us automatically. And channels like this Rabbit Journey is actually racking in millions of views per month, getting thousands of dollars per month. And imagine what we can actually do with this. It could actually be even crazier if you actually use this content for your own specific businesses or your own niche, creating your own content machine. And so today I'm going to show you how you can do it too and create your own AI agent team to help you generate videos while you sleep. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Before we get started, my name is Cal from dainami AI, and my goal is to help share practical AI automation use cases and workflows that we can build today to get ahead in this AI race. And so we're going to start with the overview of our content production system. Firstly, in our content production system, we do have a couple of agents that work together to get the video to life. The first one is the story AI agent. We have the story AI agent to generate the story and the scenes needed for the video. Right afterwards, we do have the voiceover agent who will then create different voiceovers for the different scenes of the video. Next up, we will have an image AI agent who will actually help us to generate images for each of these different scenes, and you'll pass it over to the video generation agent, which will then actually generate the videos for us and bring the images to life. Lastly, we also have the music generator agent who will then actually help us to generate the background music that sets the tone for the video for us. And after we are done with this, we're going to pass it to the render video section, where we are able to get all the different files such as the voiceover files, the video file, as well as the background music file, and render them together to create a beautiful short video like what you have seen earlier. And all of this is updated in our Airtable in real time to track the status of our video being generated. Right, once that is done, we just have to go into Airtable and change the status to ready to upload. And this will actually trigger the next part of our workflow, which is the video publishing system, which will then trigger this specific workflow and the YouTube agent to create description and captions for us and automatically help us publish this video onto YouTube. Now, of course, this is just the start, and this specific system can actually be expanded to help us post videos onto TikTok and repurpose it to other platforms like Instagram as well. And so let's get into the very first part of this workflow to see how this actually works. We're going to start off with the very first part, which is our story AI agent. Right, in this story AI agent, we do have three components. The first is the webhook, the second is the Airtable node, and the third is the story AI agent node. Right, starting with the webhook itself, what you have seen earlier in our example is that we are able to get information sent from a form to pass through our n8n workflow. Now all you gotta do is to go into tally.so, and then you go into home, and then from there you can actually create a new form over here by clicking onto new form. Right, after you've created a new form, you just have to edit it, and you should get into a page like this. You can very easily create new fields by typing /, and you can either create short answer, long answer, multiple choices, and so on and so forth. So I choose to create a specific form for this example because I find it very easy for me to put in a few inputs and then let the AI agent team actually decide on how to create the specific video for me based on what I want. And so for this specific form, I've created a few inputs such as what is the story title, right? Keep it as a short description text, and then the overview of the story, which is a long description text. This is where I can actually type in the overview of roughly what I'm looking for in the YouTube automation video that I want to create. And of course, the next important part, which would be the main character. And this is important because the video that I want to actually reference is the rabbit's journey, which actually follows rabbit's journey. And I think that's what makes it actually very exciting. And so similarly, I want to have a main character. And as you can see from the previous video, that's actually a cactus that we have created. So that's actually pretty cool as well. From there, I also want to have a field where I can get in the tone or style of the video or any other additional details that I want to add into my specific workflow as well. So up to you, you can also add in additional fields that you want that you might think could be useful for the specific workflow. Or you could also connect it to Telegram or WhatsApp as well if you want to communicate with the agent on different platforms. Okay, once this is done, you just have to click publish. Okay, and once that is done, you just have to go into settings, and then from here you want to go into integrations, and you want to look for webhook. Okay, we're going to open this, and in this webhook, we want to make sure to connect the webhook link from our n8n workflow. Right, so coming back to n8n, right, we're going to create a webhook node, open this up, and make sure to copy this over here to send it over to Tally. Right, what I like to do is to set the HTTP method to post, and then the path, I'll set it as the name for this specific webhook. And so because this is for YouTube Shorts, I'm going to name it YouTube Shorts. Okay, and so this is the test link. So if we want to use this workflow, each time we have to click test to make it work. But if you want to make it production ready and run without you having to click test every single time, you just have to find the production URL over here, copy this and paste this over, and then set this inactive to active to activate the workflow. So we're just going to copy this over, copy, and go into Tally, paste this in, save changes, and we should be good to go for our form. Now to make it work, we're going to go into our Tally form. Okay, I'm going to refresh this. Okay, so we're going to key in some dummy data to get started. So let's paste this in. I'm going to call this the Gaggling Wanderer. And this is going to be about a goose. So I'm just going to type this in. A playful goose strays, stumbles into the farmyard. And we can describe the main character as Gigi, a chatty and curious goose who can't resist exploring every corner of the farm. The tone, we can set it as lighthearted and whimsical. So let's paste this in. Comedic moments around every turn. And for additional details, we can give it some additional details over here. And let's click submit. And then from here, we want to go back to our workflow. We're going to test this webhook link. And then we're going to go back into Tally and submit the form. Okay, once this is done, it should be sent over. And you can see over here in the webhook that we have actually gotten the information sent over here. We do have the name of the video we want to create. We do have the overview. We do have the main character and so on and so forth. Okay, perfect. Now the next part I want to create is the create record node from Airtable. So we just have to create this specific node, open this up, and then from there we want to map a few information over. The first thing we got to do is to connect it to our Airtable credentials. You want to create a new credential over here. And then open this up, you want to make sure to add in the access token from Airtable. So how we're going to find that is you want to go into airtable.com/create/tokens, and you want to create a new token. You want to give it access to your base, and then from there you want to make sure it has access to the specific base that you have created. Okay, and so for this specific function, we have created a base called video log, right? And over here, we want to make sure to connect this to our Airtable API. Coming back to n8n, make sure we have this in, and we want to close this up. Okay, now let's go into the Airtable to see what we have actually created for this specific API. So for our Airtable base, we keep it pretty simple for this workflow. We just want to use this to track the status of the video as well as to get access to the link of the final video as well. So I'm going to create a couple of fields. The first one is the name. The second one is a long text field, which is description. Third one is the final video link field. So I'm going to use a URL field over here. The fourth is the status field, and this is the most important part for our Airtable. So we're going to have 4 different status. The first one is pending, which is what we're going to set for any new inputs that come from the form. And then afterwards, after the video is completed, we're going to change it to materials uploaded. From there, all we got to do is just to review the video. And once you change this to ready to upload, it will actually trigger the publishing automation workflow to actually publish it to our YouTube channel. And then once that is done, it will update the field to completed. From there on, create 3 more fields that allows us to better reference each of these specific rows later on in our automation. So they were able to actually update or actually get information from the correct rows later on. So the first one I'll do is to have a created time field. And you can find this by searching created time, name it created time. Next one is last modified time. And lastly, the most important one is the record ID. So when I search for formula, we're going to type in record _ID bracket. Okay, and that's what we need. Click save and we are good to go. Okay, once this is done, coming back to the workflow, okay, we just want to make sure that the base is the video log base. The table would be from the videos, and then from there we want to map column manually. And so in n8n, if you want to actually reference the previous fields, you just have to drag it over from here. Alright, so that's actually pretty intuitive and pretty useful. The first thing I send over is the name of the newly submitted video that we want to create, as well as the description from the form. So let's make sure to map this in. You just have to go into schema. You just have to find the name over here. Right, drag this over and paste this in. And then similarly, you want to drag this over for the description. Alright. And then for status, we want to change it to pending, to show that this specific workflow has started for this specific video idea. Alright, and once this is done, the information should be updated in our Airtable. You can see over here, perfect. We do have the name, we do have the description, as well as the new status created for pending. Alright, now let's move to the next part of our workflow, which is the story AI agent. And for this, we want to use the model DeepSeek, which is relatively cheap and powerful. And so we're going to create a new node, which is the LLM node chain. Right, so search for LLM chain, click into this and create a new node. Okay, over here, we want to connect the model to Open Router. So you just have to go into Open Router over here, create a new account, make sure to add in some credits to be used. And then for the models, click into model. You're going to search for the different types of models that you want to use. So let's say when you use DeepSeek, we can take a look over here for the different DeepSeek models that they do have. And let's say you want to use DeepSeek V3, you have to search for the model over here. Okay, click into this, and then you should get the model name that we can use as reference for our workflow later on. And then we want to get our API keys as well over here. So go into keys, create a new key to be used later on. So coming back to the workflow, we want to open this up, click into Open Router, make sure to create a new credential, okay, and then type in your API keys over here. Once this is done, you want to choose the model. You just have to search for DeepSeek/DeepSeek-chat, and this should be the model for V3 that we want to use. Rename these to DeepSeek for better reference, and we are good to go. Perfect. Now let's go into the story AI agent, and we got to give it some prompts to give it some instructions. Okay, so let's come into this. Let's take a look. So I'll give it a set of prompts. The first thing is tell it that it is a creative scriptwriter, right? And based on the following input, create a creative story with the following. I want it to give me 2 different inputs. The first one is a concise story outline, summary of exactly 30 words that set up the story, and also 6 detailed scene descriptions, each fewer than 20 words, that visually captures the main points of each scene. Right, give it some instruction as well to make sure to fully incorporate the main character into the scenes described. And then the most important part is the input, and this is actually where I get the input from the webhook over here. So all I gotta do is to drag in the fields that I want, such as, let's say, the value of the title. I'm gonna drag this over, main character description, tone and style, and so on. After I give it an example of what a good output could be, so I gave it an example of an input and then output over here as well with 6 different scenes as well as a story summary. And from there, the last thing I want to do is tell it to return the output in the exact format. Story summary, insert the 30 words outline here, and then scene 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, insert scene description here. So very straightforward, and once this is done, we just have to click test tab to see how it works. Okay, perfect. You can see over here, this is completed, and we do have the story summary we also do have the different scenes generated as well. So that's perfect. And once this is done, the story AI agent is completed. Now, once again, the story AI agent is to create the base for the other AI agents to generate image, voiceovers, and sounds for us. And so for this specific agent, it is relatively cheap, costs just about a couple of cents using DeepSeek. So this is actually very powerful. All right, so next up, we're gonna go into the voice AI agent, and we're gonna go into how we can actually build this up. Now for the voice AI agent, the model that we will be using is 11 Labs to generate the voiceovers. Now 11 Labs is a very powerful AI voice generator, and I do like the quality of the output, so we'll be using that for this specific workflow. 11 Labs also provides the API access for free users and 10,000 free credits to use per month, so it's actually pretty easy to get started. And so now let's go into how we're gonna build this voice AI agent. Okay, coming into the voice AI agent, the first thing we wanna do is to create another LLM node. And then similarly, we wanna make sure to have the DeepSeek model connected to it. Okay, once that is done, we wanna open this up and give it a prompt. For this, we're going to give it a simple prompt. Now what's important is actually the output format of this specific workflow. So what I told it is to create voiceover scripts for each of the 6 scenes, no longer than 5 seconds each, using the story from json.text. Right, I drag this over from the story AI agent and paste it in over here. You can see from the result, this is actually what the AI will actually be looking at. So it will see the story summary as well as the 6 scenes that we have generated earlier on. And then from there, I want it to return the output in exactly this JSON format with the same number of objects as the number of scenes, which would be this specific JSON format, voice over line 1, voice over line 2. And I want each of them to be no longer than 5 seconds. From here, I also make sure to add in require specific output format, and this allows me to add in an output parser. Okay, let's take a look at that. So for the output parser, I connect it to a structured output parser. You can find these by clicking onto the plus button, and you should have this structured output parser over here. Okay, we're gonna open this up and see what we get. Over here, I have this JSON example, same as the one I've given it in the prompt. Voice over line 1, voice over line 2, and so on and so forth. Now, why this is important is because we want to split up all the different voiceovers into different fields so that we can actually map them individually to send to 11 Labs to generate 6 different voiceovers for us instead of one combined file. Okay, and so once this is done, I'm going to click play to show you how that works. Okay, now let's take a look. You can see over here there are 6 different voiceover output created, so that is pretty cool. And these are the different prompts for the voiceover itself. Okay, wonderful. Now the next node we want to create is a split out node. So what we want to do is to split these outputs into individual voiceover files so that we can send them and loop them through 11 Labs later on. Okay, so I'm going to find the split out node, open this, the fields to split, I'm going to drag over this output and paste it here. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to include no other fields. Test step, and I'll show you how it works. So you can see over here now there are 6 items all separated from one another, just the voiceover file. Perfect. Okay, and this is so that we can loop each of the voiceover file through 11 Labs one by one, generating 6 different voiceovers instead of one for us. And so we're going to open this up. The batch size, I'm going to keep it as 1, and there we have it. And from here, I'm going to click play and see what happens. All right, here we go. Open this up. And the input, we do have the voiceover through the loop over items node. Okay, and so this is where it actually gets interesting and where we want to add in the 11 Labs API. And so over here, we use a node called HTTP request. Click plus HTTP request, and we'll be seeing a lot of this in our workflow today, as that's what we're going to be using to call all the different APIs for us. Okay, we're going to open this up. Okay, and then from here, how do we get all of this information, right? So we're going to go into 11 Lab, make sure to create an account, okay? And then once you have an account, you can go to the text-to-speech playground to test out the different voices over here, and then you can choose the one that you like for your video. All right, so you can actually use all of these different voices that they have over here, or if you actually upgrade it to the basic plan or the pro plan, you can actually create or clone your own voice as well. So that is actually pretty cool. All right, so after creating an account, what's important is that you want to go into API keys over here. Make sure to get the API key that you have over here, which we will be using as our credentials later on. Okay, then we're going to go into the 11 Labs API document. Right, we want to find create speech, and this so that we can use the text to speech function. Okay, over here, there's a lot of information that you can actually read from the documentation, but an easy hack that we can use is to use curl. And all we gotta do is copy curl over to our HTTP request, and it will automatically create the different fields necessary for us. So click copy here. Okay, go back to the n8n workflow, right? Import curl, paste this in, and you should get something like this. Right, the only difference that I have removed is I've actually turned off the header field for the credentials. Right, why is that so? Is because I want to create a generic credential type so that we don't have to key in our API keys over and over again each time we use 11 Labs in a different workflow. Alright, so how we're going to do that firstly is after pasting in the curl, you want to find authentication, click into generic credential type, okay, and then from here you want to choose header off, right, and then you want to create a new credential, right, and then from there you want to name this xi-api-keys. This can be found from the API documentation over here, and then this is where we're going to add in the API key. So this is a tip for everyone that's using APIs. If you want to connect it to different APIs, just check what is the header name for the API and what is the format they type the API inside. Some could be bearer space API keys, and then you just have to type it in accordingly, allowing you to use different applications for your workflow. Once this is done, I'm going to name this 11 Labs so I can reference this for any other 11 Labs workflows in the future. And then from there, the send query parameters is on. Specific query parameters, output format would be mp3 441000128, and you can go to the documentation file to change these to the different output formats that they have as well. Send body, we're going to use JSON, and specify body will be using fields below. And so there are two different fields for this specific request. The first is the text, which is the specific text that we want to generate a voiceover from. And so the model ID, we can use 11 Labs Multilingual 2, which is one of their basic models. And then for the value for the text, we want to drag over from here the voiceover, paste this in, and then we should have the voiceover file that we want to use. Okay. Once this is done, the last thing that we can actually do is to change the specific model for our voiceover agent, so we can choose the different types of voice that we want. So how we're going to do that is you can see over here, this is the specific voice code for the different models that we can use. So going back to 11 Labs, okay, we're going to go into text to speech. We can choose the different models. Let's say we want to use this Jessica model. Click into this, play once, and test it out.
If you spend your whole life waiting for the storm, you'll never enjoy the sunshine.
Okay, let's say we like this specific model. We just have to click this and then copy voice ID, and then we go back into our workflow, alright, and then we just have to paste this in here. Okay, and there we have it. We should be good to go. And once we have this, once you click test tab, you should be able to get the 6 different voiceover files that we want. So let's check it out. We currently only got one because the looping field hasn't worked yet, but don't worry, as we get to the next step, this specific node function would work perfectly. So let's move on to the next step first. Okay, now for this loop node, make sure to connect it to our HTTP request over here, and then want to connect it back to the loop over time so that the loop works and it will always loop over and over again until it's done. And then for the done node, we're going to connect it to the next step after the loop has been completed. So to use the AI voiceovers, we want to upload it to our Google Drive so that we can actually store them and actually reference them later on for the video rendering. So what I like to do is to actually upload it to Google Drive. So I'll search for the Google Drive node and I'll find the upload file node itself. Open this. Okay, you want to make sure to connect it to your credentials. So for Google Drive credentials, you want to go into the console.cloud.google.com. Okay, you want to go into API and services. Make sure to create a new credential. Create a new OAuth client ID. Make sure it's web application. You can give it a name like n8n test, YouTube short videos. And then you want to add in the URL over here. And then for the URL, you want to add this specific URL in, which is oauth.n8n.cloud/oauth2 callback. And this is so that we can make sure that n8n is actually authorized to use this specific Google Cloud. And then you just have to create this and you should get your credentials later on. Alright, so once you've created this, go back to APIs and services, click into credentials, and then if you click into the download OAuth client, you should be able to get the credentials that you want to use. Next thing you want to do is to go into Google Drive, okay, and then make sure you find the API and enable it, okay. And similarly, because we want to upload it to YouTube as well, search for the YouTube API and find the YouTube Data API version 3. and make sure to enable this as well. And this same specific API will give us connection to both of them. Alright, so coming back to our workflow, right, you want to create a new credential. And then from here, you want to add in the client ID and client secret, which can once again be found from the OAuth to client ID over here by clicking the download button over here. Okay. Once you've created a new credential, make sure to sign in to your Google account and you should be good to go. Alright, and once that is done, we want to have the resource set to file. Operation would be upload, input data would be data, and then the file name, I'll reference the name of the video from the webhook, and then I'll type underscore, and I'll type in this specific JSON text, which is item index +1, which allows us to have the file name set as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we see later on could be something like the name 1, the name 2, the name 3, the name 4.mp3. Alright, and so I'm going to click test tab to show you how this actually works. Alright, now that we are done, you can see all the output is actually set over here. And like we have mentioned, you can see the 6 different voiceover files have been created over here as well from the loop. All of this is actually uploaded into our Google Drive, which we actually use this specific file voiceovers. So let's take a look at that as well. So you can see over here from the voiceover file, if we click refresh, we do have the new voiceover files over here. The Gaggling Wanderer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so this is all for our new video later on. Perfect. Okay, now coming back to n8n, we're going to click back and we're almost done with the voice agent. The next thing we're going to do is to create a share file node. And why do we need to create a share file node is because the files that we upload into Google Drive may not directly be accessible to n8n to use as reference. So we want to give it access and permissions. So in the share file node, same thing. We want to make sure the resource is from file, the operation is share, and then the file would be by ID. And then you just have to click into the schema, drag this over, and you should be able to get this json.id. Alright, and from there on give it permissions, which is for row. We'll set it as reader, and we're going to give the type to anyone that's able to access this specific link. And this so that the n8n is able to download this specific voiceover from our Google Drive later on for our rendering. Let's test this step and see what happens. Okay, you can see over here the permission has been given for all 6 different items, so that is pretty cool. And now n8n is able to actually access our voiceover files. Okay, lastly, we're going to have to create a edit field node. Now this is not actually necessary, but I like to create this because I find it easier to manage the file after I've given it so the names that I can use for referencing later on, because we do have many different files that we are creating, like the voiceovers, the music, as well as the video as well. Alright, so I'm going to create a edit field node over here. I'm going to choose it as manual mapping. I'm going to call it voiceover item index +1, so it will be named as voiceover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then over here I'm going to choose the web content link. I'm going to drag this over, and this so that I can get the link of the voiceover files. Click test tab, and I should be able to get the output that I want. Over here we do have all 6 items, and that's it. That's the completion of our voiceover agent. And now we have a voiceover AI agent that's able to create 6 different voiceovers from us, from the 6 different scenes given to it, and upload it to Google Drive for us to use for our rendering of our videos later on. Okay, now that we are done with the voice AI agent, we're going to move on to the second one that's also about sound, which is our music generator agent. Now, what makes a great video is actually to have good background music as well. So in this specific workflow, we have a music generator agent to generate our own royalty-free music. And the model we're going to be using is a model created by Arden Fee on Replicate, and I'm going to show you how that works later on. And this model is actually pretty cheap. It costs about less than 2 cents per audio. So we get to have royalty-free music at a relatively cheap price for all our short videos that is original as well. So that is actually pretty cool. So let's go into the details of how we actually make this work. First, we're going to start off by creating an agent to create a prompt for our specific music. So we're going to create the music agent over here by creating a LLM node. I'm going to open this up. You're going to see the prompt. And so the prompt is actually quite standard. You have to create a descriptive prompt for a music track for a video that suits the vibe of the story based on the previous text given by the story AI agent. And so this is exactly what the agent will be looking at later on with the information given by us. The output should be in the following JSON format. And for this one, we only have the music prompt. So we're just going to have it as music prompt insert music prompt. Okay, very straightforward, require specific output format. The model is DeepSeek as well, and this whole specific workflow is powered by DeepSeek, so that is actually pretty cool. And then we're going to have the structured output parser as well. And this is the format, very straightforward, very simple, music prompt, insert music prompt. Now, let's play this specific agent. Alright, and here we go. We do have the music prompt, and this is pretty cool. A whimsical and adventurous instrumental track with a playful bounce rhythm to match Gigi's lively and curious nature. Very cool. Now, similarly, after we have generated a prompt, we want to be able to generate the music, download the music, upload the music, and also create a file for the music that we have downloaded. So this whole step is actually similar to the one that we have for the voiceover. Right, same thing here. We have two HTTP node, okay, and then we have the Google Drive node, which is pretty much the same as the one above. Now let's go into the first one and see how this works. Same thing here. The method is post because we want to connect it to an API, and this time I want to connect it to replicate. So let's go into replicate. And here we go. And so Replicate itself is a platform that allows us to connect to many different AI models, such as Flux for image generation and other models like Luma for video generation as well. What we're going to use today is the Ardian Feed Music Gen for this specific workflow. So we're going to find this specific model, okay? And then we're going to go into API, and then we're going to choose HTTP, and we're going to copy the curl and paste it in to get all the information required. So let's go back to our workflow, import curl, paste this in, and once you paste this in, you should get a template like this. And then from there, similarly, I just changed the header off to the generic credential type instead of the one given over here. And so same thing, generic credential type for the authentication, header off, and then we just have to create a new credential, okay? And then from there, the name will be authorization, and the value would be the API key from your Replicate account. So you just have to go into your account, go into API tokens, and then find, and then create a new token over here to be used for your workflow. Paste this in, and you should be good to go. All right. For the formatting as well, make sure that the API this time is bearer space your API token, okay, as this is the format required for the Replicate API. And then we're going to keep this the same, prefer weight. And then we're going to have the JSON body over here. So this is the template that they have created for us, right? The version would be the model that we're going to use for this specific workflow. The prompt, we're going to drag over the music prompt over here and paste this in. And then for our video, we want to have 30 seconds short video. So we're just going to set this to 30 seconds. Okay, once that is done, we are good to go. Make sure that the URL link is api.replicate.com/v1/predictions. And now let's test the step to see the music that we can generate. Alright, now that it's working, let's press back first. Okay, and then let's create a new HTTP node to get the music generated. So open this up, create a HTTP node, method is get, and then we just have to drag the URL over from here, JSON output, paste this in, and we should be good to go. And now let's test that and see what happens. And here we have it, we do have the music, so let's click view to get a preview. Play this. Interesting. This is definitely like a adventurous background track, so this could be quite interesting for the Goose character that we're actually creating. So I can't wait to see the final output that we get from this automation workflow. Alright, now I'm going to quickly run through the next 3 nodes. So the next one is upload music. So this time around, I'm going to choose another folder called sounds. I'm going to give it a file name, which will be the name gotten from our webhook _BGM, right? And that's all we got to do. Test step and see what happens. Okay, once this is done, let's check out our Google Drive and see what we get. Okay, and then from here you can see we do have the file created over here, the Gaggling Wanderer _BGM. Perfect. Okay, now this is done. We're gonna also share the music. Make sure you give the permission as reader, and we're gonna make sure that this is by the ID. Test tab, and we're good to go. And lastly, edit fields. We want to name it BGM, and we want to drag over the URL file from web content link over here. And there we have it. We do have our BGM file over here. And just like that, we have our music generator agent completed, generating amazing background music for us at ease. Okay, once this is done, the next part is actually super important, which would be the image generator agent as well as the video generation agent. Now this is the bulk of what makes our video good or bad, as it's going to be generating the visuals for us. And so we're going to firstly go into the image AI agent to see how this works. And so for the image agent that we're going to use today, we're also going to use DeepSeek to create a prompt for us. We're going to use the image model Flux to generate the image for us. And roughly for image generation, it will cost about 30 cents for the 6 images that we're going to create for this specific video. Okay, let's go into the first part, which is the LLM node again. Open this. We're going to see the prompt over here. And this is a little bit more descriptive as I want to improve the prompts for image generation. Now we can also do this for the other agents as well if you want to improve the output. Right, so for this specific agent, because I want to generate 6 image prompts, I give it instructions such as read the story from the JSON text previously, right, incorporate the main character exactly as stated, and each prompt must have a consistent unified style, limit each prompt to a maximum of 50 words, and do not add extra fields, text, or disclaimers beyond what is required. I also give it an output format. So I want each of these prompts to once again be separated just like our voice-over agent, where we can actually pass each of these prompts to generate different images for us, which is 6 in this specific workflow, right? So this is the JSON output, and I give it an example as well. And similarly, make sure to require specific output format. And then we're going to connect it to a structured output parser. And we're going to have this as the 6 image prompts that we want. All right. Okay, once this is done, let's play this to see what happens. Okay, perfect. Now you can see over here, we have the 6 image prompts generated for us, all referencing Gigi, a chatty and curious goose. So that is pretty cool. All right. Next up, we're going to split it out as well to get the 6 information separated, just like our voice over agent. So create a split out node, the fields to split out, output, and then include no other fields. Okay, play this once. Okay, and play this once. Done. And then we're going to go into the next one, which would be the Flux image generator. This time another HTTP request, method post, and then we're going to go to replicate to find this specific API. I'm going to go into my account. Okay, and so you can either search for the models over here, or I can just click into the model that I have previously over here. Right, so you're going to search for Black Forest Labs Flux Pro. Okay, once you have this, you're going to click into API. Okay, and from here you want to click HTTP, and same, you're going to copy the curl over here and paste this in, import curl, paste this in. Okay, once you have that, the authentication is the same. We can reuse the replicate one that we have created earlier on, and the rest would be the same. And then for the body, we just have to map it into what we want. So we just have to drag over the image prompt into the prompt section over here. And then for the width and height, we're going to set it to 768 to 1280 for our vertical video format. Now why did I set this specific dimension is because the next model we're going to use, Runway, actually supports this specific dimension for generating videos. Okay, so we want to make sure it's standardized so that we can generate the videos in a more effective manner. Alright, once this is done, close this, and we should be good to go. Let's test the step and get our image generated. To help you better understand how this works, if you go into your dashboard for Replicate, you can actually see all your APIs being run over here and the different models being used. And if you open this up, you can actually see what is generated. So you can see this is the goose that we have created earlier on, so that is pretty cool as well. Okay, once this is done, we're going to create a wait node over here. So why did I create a wait node is because sometimes the generation of an image can be longer than expected. So you don't want it to crash before it goes to the next step. So wait node allows us to make sure that we are able to retrieve the final output before we move on. Okay. And so how long do we actually set the wait, right? This differs for different models, so you do have to test it out and see how long it roughly takes. And then from there, you want to set an amount that's actually longer than the generated amount, so you make sure that it doesn't crash in your automation workflow. So I'll set it as 30 seconds for now. Test step, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, essentially, this is just waiting, so we'll move on to the next step afterwards. Alright, once this is done, we want to make sure that we can get and download the images as well to pass to our video models later on. Create a new HTTP request. The method is get, and we just have to drag the URL from the output over here. Okay, so we do have all the image generated, so let's take a look at one as a preview. This is an image of the goose, so that's pretty cool, and the last thing we want to do is to animate them for our video. Okay, click back, and there we have it, the image AI agent is completed. Now let's move on to the video generation section, and this is where we're going to use the model Runway to generate our videos. Now Runway is one of the pioneers in AI video generation, so the models are actually pretty good, but the cost of video generation is relatively the highest right now in this specific workflow. But as time progresses, as models get better, I believe the price will get cheaper and cheaper as well. So for Runway, it costs about 20 cents per 5 seconds video to use. Okay, so to start, we're going to create a HTTP module, which is to generate the videos for us. And we're going to go into Runway to get the API reference. So you do have to create a developer account on Runway, and then go into the dev portal, and then make sure you get your API keys, and of course make sure to have credits inside to use. Okay, and coming back to the API reference, same thing, we're going to search for the image to video function. Okay, and then we're going to copy the curl over here, copy, and we're going to go back to our HTTP module, import curl, paste this in, and then we should have a template like this. As you already know, I like to create header auths, so we're going to create a new auth for Runway. And so once again, what is the reference here? Go into the documentation. You can see over here, the name is authorization, the key is bearer, your API key. So you just have to type it in, authorization over here, and then bearer, your API key, and name this Runway, and you should be good to go. Once you have that, all of this should be sent over from the curl, but just to make sure this is X Runway version 2024 1106 version. Okay, and then from here you want to have some fields that we want to map our images over, as well as our prompts. You want to drag over the output from the image generator to get the image link, and then for the text prompts, we can just reuse the prompts for image generation to be used for video generation as well. So drag this over here. Okay, perfect. And the model will be Gen 3A Turbo, which is one of Runway's latest models. And then the ratio over here, 7681280, which is what we have earlier on. The duration would be 5 seconds. And now let's test this step. Okay, once you have seen this, it means that it's actually working and running. Now for video generation, it actually takes longer to render. So we're going to set a wait note of about 5 minutes to make sure that all the videos are rendered properly in our automation before we move on to the next step. So now let's wait for a while and come back when the videos are generated. Alright, now that it's done, we're going to create the next node, which is the HTTP request for get video. And we're going to use this URL, which is api.dev.runwayml.com/v1task. And we'll copy the JSON ID over here. This is so that we are able to reference the correct file. Okay, and then make sure we have the Runway credentials connected as well. And I'm going to have the specific header here copied over from the previous HTTP request node. Okay. And then once this is done, we're going to test this step, and this should be able to get us the videos generated for us to take a look. Okay, you can see over here, once this is done, everything should be succeeded. And this is why the wait node is super important, because if the status is failure within the automation workflow, it might actually cause problems in the workflow later on. Now that this is completed, we are done with the video generation part, and the first part of our workflow is fully completed, from voice AI agent, image agent, video generation agent, as well as music generator agent. Now that we've gotten all of these materials created from our agents, it is time to render them together to create our final output. And this is where we're going to pass them through the render video system by starting off with a merge node. So the merge node is to gather all the different data together so that we can actually use them to reference for our render video model later on. And so before we continue, for the video generation tool, we also want to have a edit field node, and we're going to set a name to each of the video file, and we're going to set it as video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to bring the link of each video over here like this. Okay, now let's test the step and see what happens. And over here I have the output as video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each of the videos created, so that's perfect. Okay, now let's go into the merge node. Let's open this up. We want the mode to be combined. We're going to set combine by position, and we're going to set the number of inputs equals to 4. Okay, over here we want 4 different inputs. The first one would be the voiceovers from the voiceover agent. The second would be the videos. The third would be the music. And the fourth would actually be the record ID from the create record over here. We're going to drag it over to the fourth input. Once that is done, we're going to play the merge node and see what happens. Alright, and so once this is done, you should see a bunch of output being combined together. And so this is what we want. And one thing to take note is to also include any unpaired items, this so that we can actually get all of the different files without missing any of them out. Okay. Alright, once this is done, we're going to create a simple code node over here. And so why are we creating this specific code node, right? You can see over here, the output that we have received is actually all over the place right now in different tables. And so we actually mapped the different fields. We might get something like undefined because they're all from different rows in the table. And what we want to do is to combine them into one specific row, as each individual column should only have one specific output. And so we're going to type in this specific simple code over here. And so how I got this code is I actually asked ChatGPT to write it out for me. Now you can get access to this code in my resources link in the description below and just copy over to your workflow. Okay, once we have this, click test step. Now you can see if you click into table, all of them are in one single row. So this is easy for us to map into our render video node later on. Perfect. Okay, now going to render video, we're going to use a tool called Creator8. Creator8 is a video editing tool that allows us to create templates that we can use to render our videos. Okay, so let's go into creator8.com, get started. And you do have some free credits to get started as a free user, so that should be more than enough for you to play around with. Let's go into the templates. And so they do have many different templates for you to use to get started, but I want to create my video in my own specific format, so I created a template myself. So you just have to click new template, right? And then you get into something like this, similar to a video editor. Okay, over here, you can upload the different files and create different text for this specific video. So to create my template, I've actually uploaded different files like audio and video over here to use as a placeholder for my template, right? So after uploading my files and videos, I will get something like this. Okay, so I uploaded 6 different videos. So let's start off with the video file. I've actually uploaded a specific video file and I copy and paste this 6 times. I set each of them to around 5 seconds and my total video will be around 30 seconds. Similarly, I add in another track, which is a audio file, and I name it BGM, and I set it as 30 seconds. And then from here, I also add in a voiceover file uploaded. I name it voiceover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I give it a total of 5 seconds as well, and I place it here as a placeholder. And one of the things I use from Creator8 is the AI subtitle feature. So I've created 6 different AI subtitles. You can see over here from the right, it is a dynamic text, and all of this is from the source, which would be from the voiceover. So I've actually mapped them to each of the voiceovers that I've created over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as you can see over here. And then make sure to set all of them to dynamic so that you can actually use as template for automation later on. Alright, and once this is done, this is a template of what my video looks like. So let's take a look. So this is more than good enough. We have the captions over here, we have the background music, and we also have the video generated. And then you can also do different things like set the volume of the background music, the volume of the voiceovers, and so on and so forth. And so do play around with it. And once you're happy with the specific template that you have created, you just have to click Use Template over here, click into API integrations, and then from here you can copy this specific cur and send it over to n8n to use this specific workflow. And so if you also want to use my template, you can also get it in my resources link in the description below. Okay, coming back to the n8n platform, I'm going to create a new HTTP node, import curl, paste this in, and you should get something like that. The URL would be api.creator8.com/v1/render, and then we got to create a header auth for Creator8 as well. Open this up. Okay, the name is authorization, and then you have to find your API key, and then you just have to click into this button over here, project settings, and then you have to find this API key over here, click into this, and then paste it into your n8n workflow. And similarly, the value would be bearer space API key. Once that is done, click save and you're good to go. And then we just have to edit the JSON input over here. So let's open this up. And you can see over here, this is a JSON template of all the different files that we have created for our template. So it's very important to name each section of a template so you can map them easily. So you can see this is the 6 voiceovers that I've created. So I've actually named them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. BGM, I've named it BGM as well. Videos, I've named it videos as well. And this is auto-generated subtitles, so we don't have to map it. And then we just have to drag over the files accordingly. For the voiceovers, I will drag over the voiceover file here and drag it over and paste this in. And then same for the video source as well and the BGM source as well. Now once all of this is mapped perfectly, we can now render our video and generate our final output. So let's click test step and see what happens. Okay, you can see over here, it has now started to render our video. And once again, for videos, it's going to take a while. So for the wait note, I've set it to about 2 minutes to make sure that the video is generated before we move on to the next step. Okay, so we're going to play this and we're going to see what happens. Alright, now that it's done, let's get the video. Same thing here, we're going to use a get method from HTTP requests. The URL would be from the video earlier, so we're going to drag over the URL over here, paste this in, and then we're going to test the step. And here we have it, we should have the final video. Let's check out a preview and see what it looks like.
Gigi waddles away, her wings flapping with excitement for the adventure ahead. Chaos erupts as Gigi crashes into a rooster.
Interesting.
Feathers everywhere.
Now of course it's not the best because Gigi isn't a chicken, but
Sparking
that's pretty
Gigi's
cool.
curiosity.
Yeah, alright, so here we have it, we have our final video completed. Now of course it isn't the best and there are some hiccups and we do have to modify it again, and that's why we need to approve it before we post it onto YouTube. But we kind of got a full team of agents to generate the video for us without us having to do anything, so that's actually pretty cool. Once this is done, the last step we need to do is just to upload it to Airtable and update the record. So we're going to create a Airtable node, update record. Okay, we're going to choose the base, which is video log, and then the table would be from the list videos. And so for the ID, we're going to find the ID from the code node and drag it over here, and this is so that we are able to update the correct field on Airtable. And then for name, we can delete this, we don't need the name. The final video, we want to have the JSON URL link from get video over here, drag it and paste, and then the status would be materials uploaded. Let's test the step and see what happens. Alright, here we go. Let's go back to our Airtable, and you can see over here the file has been uploaded and the status has been converted to materials uploaded. And this is where we can actually take a look at the video as well.
Gigi waddles away.
So that is perfect. Alright, and so once we have this, we are done with our very first section, video generation. Coming back to n8n, press back, make sure to click save. And there we have it. This is the very first part, our video content production system, with all the different agents generating the stories, the images, the voiceovers, the music, the video, and then rendering them all together into a complete video for us to be posting onto the different social media platforms. So that is super fantastic, and this is just one specific use case of our AI agent team. We can definitely still optimize the prompts and do way more things to create different types of video for us. And so I hope this actually shows you the power of AI automations and AI agents and what you can actually do with it for video production. Now, of course, we're not done yet. After we've gotten the video, we also want to create our video publishing system that allows us to publish it to YouTube automatically, as well as any other platforms. And so I'm going to create a new specific workflow for this, and I'm going to create a next node, which is search Airtable search records. Open this up, and then from here, I want to make sure the operation is search, and the filter would be status equals ready to upload. You can see over here, this is so that it will be triggered every time the status is ready to upload. So I'm going to change this to ready to upload and go back to n8n and then return all. And that's all we need to do. Now let's test that. And over here, we should get the view for the Gaggling Wanderer. Perfect. Okay, once it's done, we're going to create a YouTube agent to actually help us create title and description for our video. So over here, I'm going to give it a prompt, which is you are an AI specialized in crafting high-impact viral captions and short descriptions for shorts to be posted on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I give it the following information: the name of the story, the description, which is gotten from the search Airtable node. And then from there, its task is to generate a captivating viral style title under 50 characters, as well as a concise, engaging description that entices viewers to watch, like, and share. And this so that we can have the title and description into two different fields so that we can map them accordingly. Alright, and from here, we're just going to click required specific output format, and then we're going to type in the structured output format over here, the title and the description. Okay, very straightforward, similar to the previous things that we have done before. Okay, once this is done, we're going to play this and see what happens. Okay, and there we have it. We do have the title and the description. Very cool. Okay, now let's go into download videos over here, and this is where we're going to download the video from our Airtable. So once again, another HTTP module, method is get, and we just have to drag the URL from the Airtable over here. So we just have to find final video, place it in, and that's all we got to do. Test step, and we should have the video generated for us. Alright, here we go. Perfect. Okay, and after downloading the video, you want to create a YouTube note, and this is where you want to connect your credentials to your YouTube account. So similarly over here, make sure to have your credentials added, the client ID and the client secret similar to the Google Drive. And then from here, you want to make sure to have the resource as video, operation upload, the title, you can map it to the title created by the YouTube agent. The region, you can put in your specific location region. The category name or ID, I set it as film and animation, as this is probably a animation video. And then the input binary field, you can set it as data. The description would be from the agent as well. And then privacy status, you can set it as public, private, or unlisted, up to you, right? Okay, and once you're done with this node, the last node you need to do is to have the update record node. The update record node itself, what we want to do is to once again have the same base, video log, table would be videos, and then we're going to use the ID to match. And then the ID would be from the search Airtable item JSON ID. And then we'll change the status to complete to show that we have completed the uploading of the video. Okay, and once it's done, you should be able to get your video uploaded to YouTube and you'll get something like this. Check this out.
Gigi waddles away, her wings flapping with excitement for the adventure ahead. Chaos erupts as Gigi crashes into a rooster, scattering feathers everywhere. A sheep shares cryptic clues about the golden grain, sparking Gigi's curiosity. Gigi dodges a muddy disaster, her determination shining through the mess. The golden grain? Gigi realizes the real treasure was friendship all along. Back at the pond, Gigi's heart is full, surrounded by her newfound friends.
Right, and that's it. And there you have it. You have the detail as well as the title created over here. Very interesting. Alright, and the Airtable is updated as well as completed. And there we have it, our full automation system. Alright, and there you have it. Over here we have created our full AI automation system that generates video for us while we sleep, with a content production system of AI agents creating videos for us, as well as a video publishing system that helps us to publish the videos onto YouTube automatically. And so once again, I hope this shows you the power of AI automation, and this is just the start of what we can actually do with this specific workflow. Further on, we can also expand from here to different types of videos that we want to create, which could be explainer videos or any other videos that matches our own specific business model. So the sky is really the limit here. Now, before we end off this video, if you want to learn more about AI agents and really get ahead with AI, do join my AI agents community where we go beyond basic blueprints and master AI agent creation. And that's where we can dive deeper into n8n and AI agents to really understand how to build production-ready AI agents for all kinds of use cases to match your own specific needs. If you like videos like these, do give it a like and subscribe, as I'll be sharing more AI agent tutorials in the upcoming videos. Till then, I really appreciate you and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.